Alright, so all over the internet, it is now being said that it's confirmed that Wonder Woman, one of the most iconic superheroes in comics, movies now, and even television, because you have the cartoon shows and an old television show from the 70s with, was Linda Carter. But it is said now that Wonder Woman is confirmed to be queer, or I would say bisexual myself, you know what I mean? A writer of Wonder Woman, Greg Rucka, had said that obviously she's had relationship with women before, and the reason he says this is because she is an Amazonian woman, and she lived on an island with nothing but women, and never been around men, and it was supposed to be a paradise, a place where they're happy. Now, you're not happy if you have sexual desires and it's not being met. So what they are saying is she had to be happy in all aspects, all her desires, everything met. So if there's women there, you have sexual desires, you were pleasing yourself. You were being pleased. You know, there was no displeasurement. So anyway, away from that, I think what this is just a big case of people always wondering, especially because of her very demanded. She's very, very much in control and on the same level as most of the guys in DC Comics, or any comic for that matter. You will never really find a woman that's more of a force to be reckoned with in so many different areas than Wonder Woman. But, you know, people have always speculated and said that she was bisexual. I'm never really lesbian, but bisexual, because she has had relationships with men. Wasn't it Steve Trevor was the first guy I think she had a relationship with, romantic relationship with in the comics. Also Superman, as of recently. And that's my thing. I was seeing people talk about how a lot of her relationships never worked out in the comics, but she's not the only one. I mean, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. Everybody thought Superman and Lois Lane would be together forever, or at least he would continue to chase Lois Lane, but that's not what happened. Spider-Man, he has numerous girlfriends. After Gwen Stacy's death, he got with Mary Jane, and it seemed like they were going to be together forever. That's not the case now in the comics. Iron Man, Batman, trouble with almost everybody. And that's the thing about these superheroes. Their relationships don't work out because they are living an abnormal life. You know, they aren't normal people, but normal relationships, normal life. You know, relationships don't work out all the time. But for her being so tough and just strong of a woman and a presence, and I would say a feminist myself, I would say that about Wonder Woman. She is a symbol for, feminist. You know, she's a woman who doesn't really need a man to do anything for her, but likes a male companion. It's weird. It almost seems like, well, she would need somebody who's her equal, or probably even above her in a lot of ways. And her getting with Superman made a lot of sense to a lot of fans of comics and just people in general. I think a lot of people who weren't fans of the comic books said, why is she with Superman? I mean, that seems like the most fit guy for her. Who she's going to get with, a farmer? But it's not real life, it's fiction. And in fiction, anything can happen. She could have lived on an island with all women and it not been something sexual, and still be pleased if it's a paradise. Things aren't gonna work there the same way they worked in a normal world, because we don't live in a paradise. This is an imperfect world. So who knows? I mean, you can write anything you want. I also think this goes back to Wonder Woman's creator, what was his name? William Marston. He created Wonder Woman with his wife. He was a psychologist. So, you know, he studied people, studied the way people act and everything like that. And him and his wife created Wonder Woman, and you know, like when you create a character, especially back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and here we are, like 60 years later, and these characters are still around. You've seen so many different stories. You got to keep making them interesting. I mean, you got to keep coming up with new things to do, or you repeat things that happened before and just do it in a different way. But to make these characters interesting, or to cater to what's going on in the world nowadays, especially with the LGBT community wanting more LGBT members in comics, movies, and everything, just like us minorities want more minorities in lead roles in the comics and movies and everything. Catering to them, you're going to have these changes. And I always say there's room to create new characters. We always create new characters who are on the same level, or, you know, it's really the writer's job to make these characters as interesting if you want them to be A-list, B, or C in comics, movies, television series. But I said create new characters, you know, leave the characters that's already established alone. They have a history. You know, we change origin stories a lot when you're writing. Different writers will have a different interpretation. But when it comes to Wonder Woman, she's had male relationships, so for her to be bisexual makes more sense than just a straight lesbian. And it really doesn't bother me, but it's always a lot of talk. And really, who cares? These are fictional characters. They can do whatever they want. If you like Wonder Woman better in the 90s, you're going to, gravitate towards how she was in the 90s more in the 2000s, or in the 60s, or 70s, 80s, whatever. We have different time periods. I mean, I love Spider-Man from all time periods, but I think my favorite was early in the 60s and the 80s. I believe that, to me. I read a lot of old comics, so that's my favorite. I don't know why, but that's my favorite. And the thing about this Wonder Woman, it's really crazy, but sometimes I think the LGBT community gets happy that things are changed in their way. If you've grown up as homosexual or lesbian, and you always wish that a certain character, you could relate to them more because they have relationships with men or women, and you wanted it to be a character that had relationships that you want, whether you're a male who is attracted to males or a female that's attracted to females, and you're like, man, why couldn't she be like me? Or, you're getting your wish nowadays with certain characters, but not all of them. That's not going to happen with all of them. The day Batman goes gay and people are going to flip, and it's just because they already have an established fan base and they have established history. So Wonder Woman, it really doesn't bother me. She seems the type of character she is. Let her have a male or female from time to time whenever she wants one. Cool. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's a fictional character. It shouldn't be that big of a deal to most of us, but it is going to be, and that's just plain simple. If Peter Parker goes gay one day, he's my favorite superhero. If he goes gay one day, so what? I don't care. I mean, maybe I do just a little bit, but so what? I have history. I have comics I can go to. I haven't read every Spider-Man comic, but I'm trying to, and I can go to those and read what I like from those. He's had relationships with females in the older comics, so if he goes gay one day, I mean, whatever. There's no need to really change him, but in real life, people change. I mean, somebody who wasn't gay decides when they're 50 years old, hey, I like men now, or I like women now. You know what I mean? It happens. But to me, I think a lot of this discussion and conversation was, why is she gay? Is she gay because she had no choice? Or was it a situation or circumstance? There's a book called Lord of the Flies, where a bunch of young boys get stranded on the island and they have to survive, and they get divided because the hunters and the ones that want to survive, they get divided. But I read that they chose the age for the boys to really be under, at the point where they didn't reach puberty or go through puberty, because they didn't want them part of the story to be missing where they have sexual desires. They're stuck and trapped on this island for months, and if these kids were 16, 17 and they had sexual desires, sooner or later, the topic would have came up, well, wouldn't some of them start liking boys or guys? Now, that's a really touchy subject. A lot of people who are part of the LGBT community that I personally saw and experienced myself don't like when you tell people somebody can turn gay on circumstance. Basically, well, I'm surrounded by nothing but men, like men in jail. Men who go to jail and they spend a numerous amount of years or life sentence in prison, and they end up becoming homosexual because they're in a same-sex environment and they only can get out their sexual desires by whatever's around them. I mean, you can do certain things to yourself to get your sexual pleasures, but I think nothing's really going to compare to another human being, somebody enjoying you as much as you enjoying them. But that's a really touchy subject. So Greg, one of the Wonder Woman writers, said she's on the island with nothing but women, so of course she's bisexual or lesbian. I'm like, then you don't want to say it's a choice that somebody says, hey, I'm going to be gay, or I'm going to be heterosexual. No, if you think about it, I think it's more of a feeling. Some people do venture out and do things just because they want to experiment, or they're like, you never know till you try, or it seems fun. It's interesting. Most people who smoke cigarettes, why did you ever first smoke cigarettes? Did you just have a feeling, I need to smoke a cigarette? Somebody probably want to say that, and it's not going to make sense to you, but it's probably true. But regardless of all of that, who cares why she's gay? She's whatever the writers make her. If they don't write her gay, she's not going to be gay. She's not a real person. We're not questioning a real person here. We're questioning a fictional character who people write for. So she's going to be whatever. She's going to like and be attracted to whatever they write. You want to know who's going to win out of who in a fight? Whoever the writers decide. Plain and simple. Point blank, period. So I'm just going to say, who cares? I don't care. She had relationships with men. She probably had relationships with women and probably will have relationships with women. And whatever, just make some good stories where she's saving people. That's all I want. Good stories. You know what I mean? I am big on romance and love, so I do like to see love stories and romance. But this is a comic book character, and she's a superhero, so she's got to be doing some superhero stuff too. And that's what I'm really there for. The relationship, if it's good and I enjoy it, great. That's a bonus. But she's got to be a good superhero, so keep writing good stories. That's all I care about. Anyway, that's all I got about this Wonder Woman thing for officially being announced as queer. I don't even like that word. Bisexual, whatever. Anyway, comment, share it, subscribe, like the video if you like the video. See you next time.